Fellas, it's that time again. UFC 299 is just this weekend, and to be completely honest with you, I can't wait. It's one of the most stacked cards of all time. The prelims, everything about this card is just stacked from top to bottom. And one thing I love about this card is that nearly every fight is like 50-50. There's no fights where it's like a complete obvious fighter to pick. I feel like nearly every fight is 50-50. So many people are picking different fighters, but as always, I'm going to be predicting every single fight on this stacked card on the main card, and I'll be picking one prelim fight that I think is going to stand out from the rest. But yeah, let me know your predictions down below. Starting off with the prelim fight that I've chosen, I've gone with Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes, which is the headliner for the prelims. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting fight because it's going to be a test for Jelton Almeida, because obviously he's just got that win over Derek Lewis and Rosenstruik, and I'm really intrigued to see how he does against a style like Curtis Blaydes, because we all know Curtis Blaydes, he's got great grappling, he's had this big wrestling background, he's displayed dominant wrestling a few times in his UFC career as well, and I'm really interested to see how a grappler like Jelton Almeida is going to deal with a guy like Curtis Blaydes, because if Almeida can go out there and absolutely ragdoll Curtis Blaydes, that is a big statement-making performance. But my prediction is that Almeida will get it done. It is only a 3-rounder. It's not like we have to watch Jelton Almeida for 5 rounds again. It is only a 3-rounder, but I'm picking Jelton Almeida to win for a few reasons. First of all, Curtis Blaydes has repeatedly messed up in big fights. It's like Curtis Blaydes, his fight IQ always lets him down in big fights. It happened in the Pavlovich fight. It's happened a few times before the Derek Lewis fight, and I feel like it's going to happen again. It's almost as if Curtis Blaydes is super inconsistent, but at the same time, he's also good at kind of shutting down, new prospects and contenders. But I feel like the fight's going to be very, holding against the cage. It's going to be a lot of Almeida trying to hold Blaydes against the cage until he gets the takedown, and I feel like it's going to be a lot of Blaydes trying to mix his grappling up with his striking, but I feel like Almeida is just going to be able to take him down. Now, I don't think he's going to finish Curtis Blaydes, because in my mind, if he can't finish Derek Lewis in 5 rounds, I don't see how he's going to finish a grappler, one of the best grapplers in the heavyweight division in Curtis Blaydes, in only 3. So I'm picking Jelton Almeida to win this fight by decision. I don't think it's going to be as boring as the Derek Lewis fight either, because like I said, Curtis Blaydes is going to make it a lot more difficult for Almeida to get going. So I'm picking Jelton Almeida to take this one by decision, but I'm really interested to see how Almeida wins, because I feel like the winner of this fight could easily go and fight an Aspinall for the interim belt, because obviously if Almeida wins, it's a big win. He needs a big step up in competition, and I feel like Aspinall for the interim belt's a good fight to do that. And if Curtis Blaydes can shut down the prospect, which is Jelton Almeida, we get to see the big rematch of Blaydes versus Aspinall, which we never really got to see the first time because Aspinall will get injured. So I'm picking Almeida to win, but I can't wait for that fight. It's going to be interesting to see how their styles clash. Then we're on the main card. The first fight on the main card is Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. Now, one thing I will say is really weird seeing Petr Yan this low down on the card. I'm so used to him being like a main event for a fight night, or like a pay-per-view main or co-main event, so it's really weird, but I'm picking Petr Yan to win this one. I think Yan is going to make it look not easy, but I think he's going to get a unanimous kind of dominant win over Song Yadong. The reason is, if we look at Yan's most recent losses, it's all been against stylistic nightmares. It's either been against absolutely horrific grapplers in Merab and Aljamain Sterling, which he's lost to 3 times, or it's against guys like Sean O'Malley, who are long, tall and rangy and just are really difficult to beat on the feet. And even then, there are a few controversial fights. I think Song Yadong is a perfect fight for Petr Yan, because he's going to stand and he's going to box with Petr Yan. And if we know anything about Petr Yan, is that he's got some of the best boxing in the UFC. I don't think the power of Song Yadong is going to cause any problems. I think Petr Yan, with the experience that he's got and the eagerness he's got, and the fact that he's such a good boxer, I think he's going to piece up Song Yadong for 3 rounds straight and get that decision win. It's a long-awaited win. We've been waiting for Petr Yan to get a win for a long time, and I think he's finally going to do it. Song Yadong, he hasn't looked terrible in his last few, obviously. Was able to finish Ricky Simon and got a win over Chris Gutierrez, but I just feel like Song Yadong, I don't think it's the time for him right now, especially for a guy like Petr Yan. I feel like it's one of the easier fights for Petr Yan in the division, and I feel like stylistically it's just going to be a lot of Petr Yan piecing up Song Yadong. So as good as Song Yadong is, and as dangerous as his power is, I do feel like I do feel like Petr Yan at the end of the fight, I do feel like he's going to have done enough to piece him up, use his boxing effectively, and then we'll finally have Petr Yan back in the win column. So I'm picking Petr Yan to win this one by decision, but it's going to be really interesting to see how Petr Yan does against another dangerous striker in Song Yadong. Then we've got Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. I'm picking JDM to win this one, once again by decision, but I think this is going to be one of the best fights on the card. I think this has potential to be fight of the night. I mean, pretty much every fight does, but I'm so intrigued to see how Gilbert Burns does, because Gilbert Burns, obviously, we know him for having a pretty decent boxing base, but most importantly, being a very offensive jiu-jitsu grappler. But JDM, I feel like, again, JDM, one of the best boxers, if not the best boxer in the welterweight division, and also has great jiu-jitsu. Their styles are so similar, but I'm picking JDM because Gilbert Burns, I feel like he's good, but he's not great. I don't think he's one of the elite in the welterweight division. Obviously, we saw him recently lose to Bilal Muhammad. He got finished by Usman not long ago, and I feel like Jack Della Maddalena, I feel like he's going to have done enough on the feet for Gilbert Burns. I feel like grappling-wise, unless Gilbert Burns catches him in something, I respect JDM's jiu-jitsu that he's going to be able to have, you know, a good enough defensive jiu-jitsu game plan to avoid anything that Gilbert Burns brings, and I think it's going to be a lot of JDM outboxing Gilbert Burns on the feet, but I do think it's going to be very back and forth. I don't think it's going to be complete domination from JDM. I think there's going to be times when Gilbert Burns, you know, maybe gets a takedown or two on JDM because he is just that experienced, but I'm picking JDM to outbox him. We saw what he could do against a guy like Kevin Holland, and I think he's going to, even though it's a much more difficult style, I am picking him to beat Gilbert Burns as well. So I'm going JDM to win this one by decision, but I feel like it's going to be an absolute back and forth war. There's going to be a few times where Gilbert Burns, you know, manages to, you know, pose a threat to JDM, but I feel like throughout the entire fight, JDM's going to do enough to win the fight. So I'm picking JDM. Then we've got Kevin Holland versus Michael Page. Now, a lot of people are going to be picking Kevin Holland. In fact, I think the majority of people are picking Kevin Holland, but I'm actually going to go for a risky pick and pick Michael Page. Now, I know in the past, risky predictions haven't done well. I picked Ferguson to beat Paddy Pimblett. I picked Roman Kopylov to beat Anthony Hernandez, and they haven't gone well, but I've got something that's telling me that the debut of Michael Page is going to be him getting a win over Kevin Holland. Now, the first reason is that we all know MVP has terrible grappling, right? He showed in Bellator a few times where he struggled with it. His grappling's terrible. But if you really think that Kevin Holland on a big card like UFC 299, on the main card, when everyone's watching MVP's debut in the UFC, if you think Kevin Holland's going to grapple, offensively wrestle against MVP, if you think Kevin Holland's going to offensively wrestle, you're delusional. There's not a chance he's doing it. He didn't do it against Wonderboy, and he's definitely not going to do it against MVP. I feel like this is going to be a complete clash of styles on the feet and on the feet only. Another thing that people have been saying is, you know, MVP's a can crusher and he's getting old, and to be honest, you're not wrong, but I'm just excited to see MVP in the UFC, and I feel like stylistically on the feet, it's going to be an absolute war. But I've got a feeling that MVP is going to be able to pull it off. I've got a feeling that he's going to be able to, you know, get a few moments in the fight where he maybe not rocks Kevin Holland, but lands a few big shots. And I feel like MVP is coming for a big debut. I'm expecting the best MVP we've seen. So I'm going MVP to win this one by decision. It's an unlikely take. No one else is really picking MVP, but I'm backing him from the UK. He's going to beat Kevin Holland, and then we can finally see MVP versus Wonderboy. But yeah, extremely, you know, close fight between both of them, but just because I don't think Kevin Holland's going to impose any grappling, I'm picking MVP to win this one by decision, but it's going to be such a fun fight to watch. Then we've got the co-main event, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit St Denis. A lot of people are picking Benoit St Denis, and I feel like, why? Why are we picking Benoit St Denis? In fact, I've heard a few people say that, oh, Benoit St Denis, you know, is this insane fighter who's going to come out of nowhere and destroy Dustin Poirier? And my response to that is that you're delusional. Benoit St Denis' best win is Matt Frivola, and because he got a good knockout over Matt Frivola, we're saying that he's going to go out there and demolish Dustin Poirier. Are we forgetting who Dustin Poirier is? This guy's been around for so long. He's practically turning into a legend in the lightweight division, coming off a few knockouts over Conor McGregor, finishing Michael Chandler, dropped Oliveira in the first round as well until he got submitted. Benoit St Denis is a good fighter. He's really well rounded. He's dangerous on the feet and he's got great grappling, but so is Dustin Poirier. He's the best boxer in the 155 division right now. He's tough. He's got great grappling. He's experienced, and I feel like it's way too big of a step up for Benoit St Denis. Everyone was saying the same thing about Rafael Fiziev and Justin Gaethje, that Rafael Fiziev is going to come in and take out this old veteran in Gaethje, and we're going to see the downfall of Gaethje because Gaethje was coming off a loss, and I feel like this is very similar. He's like Rafael Fiziev versus Gaethje all over again. I think Poirier is going to TKO Benoit St Denis in the later rounds. I'm going to go round 3 TKO to Dustin Poirier. The first few rounds, they're both going to be very hesitant because obviously I think Benoit St Denis is going to respect Poirier, and Poirier is going to be expecting something big from BSD, but I think it's going to be a lot of Dustin Poirier piecing him up, and then I think I can definitely see in the third round BSD pushing the pace on Poirier, which backfires. I can see Poirier dropping him and going for a TKO ground and pound finish, so I'm picking Dustin Poirier to win this one by TKO. TKO in the 3rd round. I think people are forgetting who Dustin Poirier is because he's lost to Justin Gaethje. So Dustin Poirier, TKO. I feel like they've rushed BSD too soon. He's only in his 20s and he's fighting Poirier after winning over Matt Frevola. It's not even like he had a step-up fight in Bobby Green or Jalin Turner. He just went straight in the deep end, and I think it's going to cost him. And then the main event, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. I'm picking Sean O'Malley to win this one by stoppage in the later rounds. Now, what I think is going to happen, I think Sean O'Malley is a very, very smart fighter. His fight IQ is very, very good and he's great at controlling distance. I think the first few rounds is going to be Sean O'Malley outstriking Marlon Vera. I think Sean O'Malley at the beginning of the fight is going to be the more fresh striker. I can definitely see him landing the better leg kicks, controlling the distance better, and landing the bigger shots on Marlon Vera for the first few rounds of the fight. But one thing that we know about Marlon Vera, and he's displayed it in many fights, just like the Dominic Cruz fight, that he tends to get better as the fight goes on. It's almost as if there's a timer, and the longer that timer goes on, the better the Marlon Vera you see. So I think in the later rounds of the fight, I don't think O'Malley's going to finish him too early, because I think Marlon Vera is going to be very defensively, very defensively sound in the early rounds. I think in the later rounds, that's where we're going to see Sean O'Malley do a lot of offensive grappling to Marlon Vera, because we saw Marlon Vera against Sandhagen, where he got dominated when it comes to grappling. He got absolutely mauled by Sandhagen, and Sean O'Malley's definitely seen that, and I think we're going to see a lot of grappling from Sean O'Malley in the later rounds, to the point where he's able to find a TKO, land a big shot, and I feel like it's going to get to the point in the 5th round where he's mixing it up with his striking and grappling. He's going to keep Marlon Vera guessing, and he's going to land a big shot in the last, in the 5th round of the fight on Marlon Vera, get the finish, and I'm going TKO, Sean O'Malley. I'm going to go round 5 TKO for Sean O'Malley. I think he's better everywhere the fight goes, and to be honest, I don't even think Marlon Vera deserves the title shot, to be honest. I think Sean O'Malley's got this, and it's going to be not an easy defense, but it's definitely going to be a defense for O'Malley. I think he's way more well-rounded than Marlon Vera. So yeah, that's my predictions for UFC 299. Such a stacked card. I can't wait for every fight on this card. Like I said, a lot of them are just 50-50 fights. There's no fights that are a complete one-way beatdown. So, yeah, let me know your predictions down below and just your overall thoughts on this stacked card. And thank you for watching.